Welcome back to Tales from the Motherland. Today, we will hear how Hyena lost his beauty. So come closer, child. Let me tell you a story. Long ago, when the African savannah was still young and the animals were learning the ways of the world, a group of young animals gathered beneath a large marula tree. Exhausted from running around the savannah and getting into mischief, they lay there resting. There was little zebra, curious monkey, gentle antelope, and shy young warthog. They had been whispering and giggling among themselves, glancing every now and then at Hyena, who lay nearby in the shade. Finally, little zebra stepped forward and asked the question they had all been wondering. With the sweetest, most innocent smile, he spoke. "Hyena, why are you so ugly?" The mothers of the little ones gasped and the fathers grunted, clearly embarrassed by the question. But Hyena did not get angry. Instead, he lifted his head slowly and a long sigh escaped him. "Little one," he said softly, "I was not always this way." The young ones leaned closer, and so did everyone else. "You see," Hyena continued, "there was a time when I was the most beautiful animal on the savannah." The young animals looked at each other in disbelief. "Yes," Hyena said with a quiet chuckle. "My fur was smooth and golden, my eyes were bright like the morning sun. I walked with such grace that even the gazelles turned their heads whenever I passed by. But beauty," Hyena said, his voice growing heavy, "can be a dangerous thing when it fills the heart with pride." Hyena began to remember those days. I mocked elephant for his size. I laughed at zebra for his stripes. I told lion his mane looked like dry grass blown by the wind. I made cruel jokes about every animal I met. The young animals shifted uncomfortably. One day, Hyena continued, as I was laughing at others near the waterhole, old tortoise slowly walked past me. The wise old tortoise stopped and looked up at Hyena with calm ancient eyes filled with wisdom. "Hyena," tortoise said gently, "be careful. The ugliness inside your heart will one day show on the outside." But Hyena threw back his head and laughed louder than ever. "Look at me," he boasted. "I am the most beautiful animal on the savannah. Nothing could ever change that." Tortoise simply shook his head and continued on his slow, unhurried journey. At first, nothing happened. But slowly, things began to change. "My beautiful fur began to shed," Hyena said quietly, "and in its place grew rough, spotted and patchy fur." Hyena's proud, graceful walk became crooked. His melodious voice turned into the harsh, broken laugh you hear today. But wait. For unbeknownst to Hyena, the uglier he became on the outside, the crueler and harsher his words became towards other animals. The more he hurt others with his words, the uglier his face became. It was a never-ending ugly circle. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the waterhole with gold, Hyena bent down to drink. For the first time in many moons, he looked closely at his reflection. He froze. He did not recognize the creature staring back at him. The animal in the water had a bent back, uneven legs, and a twisted grin that showed too many teeth. Hyena staggered backward in shock, and in that moment, he remembered the words of the old tortoise. "The ugliness inside your heart will one day show on the outside." Hyena lowered his head. By then, it was too late. The young animals sat silently beneath the marula tree, tears filling their eyes as they felt sorry for poor Hyena. At last, Hyena lifted his eyes and looked at them kindly. "So you see, little ones," he said gently, "beauty is not only something you wear on your face. It is something you carry in your heart. One day the world will see your true inside on the outside." The young animals walked away slowly that evening, thinking deeply about Hyena's story. And from that day on, whenever they saw Hyena's crooked back and strange laugh, they remembered the lesson of how Hyena lost his beauty. The end.